We're talking about how to start an LLC in Oregon, and what you can see back here is the actual checklist that we're going to be going through. But before we get to this checklist, I do want to talk about something called the LLC dumpster fire. Now, the reason that we call it that is this is a situation where somebody sets up an LLC, but they do something incorrectly that can cost tens of thousands of dollars in legal damages down the road. And that can occur because you don't understand terms such as piercing the corporate veil, commingling funds, registered agents, and pass-through taxation. And other times, people setting up their LLC don't understand how the LLC renewal process works, or they don't look into business licenses and permits. We're gonna be talking about all these things in the course of this video as you're setting up your LLC. And to do this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of zoom out a little bit and talk about what an LLC actually does for your business. So then we can zoom in and then eventually go through the LLC formation process. So to get started, what I want to do is just open this up right here. You can see that it offers limited liability protection and pass-through taxation. Those are the two things that the LLC offers you. So why don't we look at an example of owning a coffee shop without an LLC? What that looks like is you have the business owner here in the center and all the personal assets on the left-hand side, your home, car, and bank account, along with all the business assets on the right-hand side, business bank account, point of sale, espresso machine, lights, the physical location, are all connected back to the business owner, and that creates a lot of liability for this person. And you're going to see why with this example of looking at what owning an LLC that owns a coffee shop looks like. You can see that this looks very different. Now we have the business owner on the left-hand side with their personal assets, and then we have what we're calling on the right-hand side Acme Coffee LLC, and that has all the business assets. The really important part is this red line in the middle. That is something called the corporate veil. Now, earlier, you can recall that we talked about a term called piercing the corporate veil, and then we're also going to talk about commingling funds right now. Now, commingling funds, what that is when somebody gets an LLC set up and they don't set up a business bank account right away. They set up, they just kind of run the new business through their personal bank account. That is called the commingling funds. So when you have personal and business transactions running through a personal bank account. Now, if you were to be sued, the attorney suing you is going to look for cracks in your LLC, and perhaps they find out that you've been commingling funds. They give that evidence to the judge agrees with them and allows them to pierce the corporate veil. What that does is this division between your personal and business assets disappears, and then they can come after not only your business assets, but your personal assets as well. So that's why getting an LLC set up is so important, but also making sure that you do it correctly and maintain it properly. So we're gonna be talking about all of that in this video. What I want to talk about very briefly though, is an explanation of pass-through taxation. Let's say that your Acme Coffee LLC grosses $140,000 of income, $90,000 of expenses, so they have $50,000 in net income. The IRS is not taxing the LLC. That $50,000 of net income passes through to the business owner. This is also called flow-through taxation. So if you hear flow-through taxation or pass-through taxation, same thing. But I just wanted you to be aware that when it comes to tax time, that is going to pass through or flow through to your personal tax returns. So just a little bit helpful in terms of that. Sometimes people think there's like a advantage of getting an LLC set up for taxes. There is not. You can deduct things if you're just a sole proprietor as well as far as business expenses. Where the advantage comes in is that in the future, when you have about $40,000 to $50,000 of net income, you can actually apply for an S Corp designation on your LLC, and that is where you will save on taxes. I wanted to make a quick mention right now that this is a video series, and I believe we'll get to that more so in video 3 of this series, but I highly recommend that you watch all the videos in this playlist because they're gonna set you up not only for starting your LLC, but making sure that you're setting it up correctly, maintaining it properly, and taking advantage of all the things that are afforded to you, such as an S Corp designation down the line. So this video is really about just planting seeds so that you are informed not only today, but year 2, year 3, and beyond. Now, what I want to talk about now is checklist for starting your LLC. First thing on here is just getting this checklist for yourself. There'll be a QR code on the screen right now that you can scan, and there's a link in the description below. And there's a lot of cool features within this Notion document that are available to you. If you look up the glossary of terms, you're going to see a bunch of terms here that will be helpful for you as you're getting your LLC set up. There's also bonuses. There's an AI chatbot here. So you can say like, how do I start an LLC? This will give you a detailed list. You can do this specific to the state of Oregon. Also, we have a yearly accounting calendar that we're going to be covering in the third video of this series, the important dates that you need to know after forming your LLC. And we have free CPA advice, future tax savings, and a free charitable opportunity where you can give $20 to charity when you're getting your LLC formed. So a lot of cool stuff on here. Once you're getting going though with your LLC, this section right here, you need to figure out which path you want to go. You can go through the state website, you can go through online LLC services, these online legal tools, or you can go through a business attorney. For the sake of this video, we're going to go through the state website and just kind of share step by step what that looks like. But which path is the right path for you depends on your specific needs. And we're going to be deep diving in the next video in this series specifically on that topic. But what we need to do is decide on a business name for your LLC. What I'll say here is people will put a lot of pressure on themselves to come up with the perfect name. You don't need the perfect LLC name. And the reason for that is you can call it Acme Coffee LLC, but then you can have a DBA or a fictitious business name underneath that. What that is it could be something like Espresso Yourself Cafe. That can exist underneath the LLC. What you do need though is you need the name to be unique that you pick for your LLC. And what we have here is the state directory. And we're going to scroll down to Oregon. Where are we? Over here. And then what you have here is the actual database for the state. So let's say you come up with the name Ducks. Well, if we do the search here, there's going to be a lot of businesses with the word Ducks in it in Oregon for obvious reasons. But if I was to just go here and just kind of jam out on the keyboard and do a search, what you'll see here is your search returned no business entity names. That's actually a good thing for you. That means that is available. Now, you notice that the state website is pretty ugly. That's just how it is. If you're going to go through the state website to set up your LLC, the process is going to be more frustrating because it's not well planned out and it's just ugly. But that's one of the downsides of going through the state website. But once you have your LLC name, you can start to go through the process of getting it set up. Right here, we have register your LLC name and write your articles of organization. The articles of organization is the actual document name that you will file with the Secretary of State. You also include a filing fee to the state, but that is what sets up your LLC. When you register your LLC name, it's kind of similar to just buying the domain name. You don't have the website set up, but you have secured that name. So that's what that little half step is for. But right here, we're talking about writing your articles of organization. Again, there's a state directory list. What you'll see here is a bullet point list here that explains what goes into the articles of organization. But we're going to click on Oregon again. So what we have here is the actual PDF, the articles of organization. Now, a few things that I want to highlight here. Number one, name of your limited liability company. This is the one that you have found that is available in this database. Duration. Most people, duration shall be perpetual. It's going to be an ongoing LLC. Your principal office, so what's the address? If you're working from home, it's going to be your home address. Registered agent. Now, this one's really important. They don't really give you a ton of information here, but they do highlight right here that it must be an Oregon street address, which is identical to the registered agent's office. So what a registered agent is it's a third party that handles important documentation and communication for your business. If we go back to the example of you being sued with a coffee shop, what they're going to do is there's going to be a service of process notice. That's basically saying you need to show up to court. Well, they're going to make sure that you get the documents there and that you're showing up to court with all the documentation that you need. What the registered agent is, though, is it has to have a physical mailing address within the state of Oregon, and it cannot be a P.O. box. So those are the two rules around that. So this is really important. If you're going through the state website, they don't supply you any services or any recommendations here. If you go through online legal tools, a lot of them will partner with professional registered agent services, which is nice because it streamlines this process. But also one of those tools will actually provide you the registered agent for free for the first year. And we're going to deep dive into that on the next video. But I just wanted to make you aware of that. Address where the division may mail notices, probably going to be the same as your office location. How this liability company will be managed. Is it one or more members? Is this a multi-member LLC? Basically is what it's asking you. If rendering a licensed professional services or services, describe the services being rendered. Frankly, a lot of this is most likely going to be redundant because if you're a solo owner of this LLC, the members and managers, the organizers, the address is all going to be the same. And that's typically how that goes. But then you're going to sign and print and then have your contact information. And then right here, what you can see is the required processing fee is $100. Now, as of making this video in 2024, there's no way around that filing fee of $100. If you go through the state website, if you go through an online legal tool or a business attorney, you're going to pay that $100 fee. Just wanted you to be aware of that. If you do go with online legal tools, a lot of them do have initial packages, which are free plus state fees. So in your case, it would just be $100 to file with those online tools, but then they'll have a lot of upsells for different products and services as well. Now, once you actually file this articles of organization, you mail it in, or you just go through the state website and create an online login for their portal, you're going to want to consider creating and signing an LLC operating agreement. Now, the LLC operating agreement is not required to set up an LLC in the state of Oregon, but it is something that is really smart to do. And the reason for that is it's one of those cases where an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Now, let's say that you had a business partner and your coffee shops explode. You have 26 locations, right? And that partner wants out of the business someday. How do you handle that? Well, an LLC operating agreement will tell you who are the members, what are their roles and responsibilities, but it'll also highlight things such as like what happens if somebody wants out of the business. When that is detailed up front, this is a much smoother transaction. But when it's not detailed in an LLC operating agreement, it can cost tens of thousands of dollars with an attorney to figure these things out, and it can just be a very lengthy process. So that's why an LLC operating agreement is really key. When you go through the online LLC services, they have a boilerplate template you can use. Most of those services have that. The state website's not really going to help you with this. A business attorney can really dial it into your specific needs if you have a complex situation, like there's multiple partners and you have offices in and out of state and things like that. That's where getting a business attorney involved can be very helpful. Now, after LLC formation, you can set up your EIN. There's an IRS link here. And what the EIN is, the employer identification number. This is like a social security number for your business. You will need this if you're going to be putting people on payroll. You also, if you're applying for a business loan or business insurance or a location, being able to put an EIN on that application process looks a lot more professional than your social security number. And it's free to get this set up on this link with the IRS. Now, what I will say too is those online legal tools will do this for you. It's typically their mid-tier packages, which cost a little bit more money. But they can set this up for you as well. But just know that you can do this yourself through this link there. Next, you want to look into obtaining the necessary licenses and permits for your business. There's an SBA resource here that's helpful. You can scroll down and you can put in Oregon in the drop down and it'll give you a little bit more information here. But what I want to do is just go through the example, the hypothetical of, let's say you're opening up a brewery. Now, when you open up a brewery, you're going to be brewing beer, distributing beer, and potentially serving beer on premise. Those three things can require different licenses and permits, right? Like the building it's in, it may need a certain permit. You also might need a license with the local jurisdiction to be able to do those things. So what you want to do is you want to look at these things on the federal, state, and local level. Now, on the local level, what you can do is you can call and look up your local town or city town clerk. Call them and just say, hey, I'm starting this type of business. I just want to know like any licenses and permits I need to know of. Not every business has this requirement, but if you're doing something like you're a chiropractor, a dentist, or a construction company, those are examples of where you may need licenses and permits. So that is something you want to look into. The online legal tools out there will do this research for you for an additional fee to make sure that you're getting set up correctly. State websites, there's, DIY kind of helpful stuff as well. But in these instances as well, Google is your friend to start Googling what your business category is and what is required of you when you're getting your business set up. Now, what we're going to look at in the next video is we're going to look at the different options of going through the state, online tools, or business attorney. What I'll say is it's very common that people get kind of swept up and they end up overspending close to $1,500 when they get their LLC set up. So to help you combat that, what we have here is there's actually an embedded cost calculator, which we're going to get into in this video. And it's going to show you down to the dollar what it costs to set up your LLC in 5 years, right? So what is the cost of ownership of that LLC as well? So we're going to be getting into that in the next video. We're going to go into the star ratings, comparing these different services and explaining that. We're also going to be talking about domestic versus foreign LLCs. This is something that you should understand if you're setting up an LLC. And we're also going to be going through this matrix here of questions worth asking on which potential path is the right path for you. So we're going to be getting to all that in this next video. And again, I highly suggest that you get this free document as well for yourself so you can follow along and make sure that you get your LLC set up. So we'll catch you in the next video.